Hello. In this podcast, I will give you information about the Nazi government. After listening, you will have learned quality things about the Nazis, World War II, genocide, and more. Let's start. The Nazi period, also known as the Third Reich, was a period in German history from 1933 to 1945 when the National Socialist German Workers' Party, led by Adolf Hitler, had absolute control over the German state. The Nazi regime implemented policies that led to the persecution and extermination of Jews, Romani people, homosexuals, disabled individuals, and other minority groups. The Nazis pursued aggressive foreign policies, leading to World War II and the invasion of other countries. The regime used propaganda to manipulate public opinion and develop a cult of personality around Hitler. The Nazi period ended with the defeat of Germany in 1945 and the subsequent Nuremberg trials. Historical context. The Nazi period refers to the time when Germany was under the control of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, commonly known as the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler. This period is typically defined as starting in 1933 when Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany and ending in 1945 when Germany surrendered to the Allied powers. The historical context of the Nazi period is complex and multifaceted, but there are several key factors that contributed to the rise of the Nazi Party and its eventual takeover of Germany. One important factor was the economic and political instability that plagued Germany in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, which ended the war, imposed heavy reparations and restrictions on Germany, which led to economic hardship and political unrest. The Weimar Republic, which was established as a democratic government in the wake of the war, struggled to maintain stability and legitimacy in the face of these challenges. Another factor was the rise of fascism and totalitarianism in Europe, particularly in Italy and the Soviet Union. The Nazi Party drew inspiration from these movements and developed its own ideology based on racism, nationalism, and anti-Semitism. The Great Depression of the 1930s also played a role in the rise of the Nazi Party. The economic crisis led to widespread unemployment and poverty, which created a fertile ground for extremist political movements to gain support. The Nazi Party was able to exploit these factors and gain popularity through a combination of propaganda, intimidation, and violence. Hitler and his followers were able to create a cult of personality around him and present themselves as the only solution to Germany's problems. Once in power, the Nazis implemented a range of policies aimed at consolidating their control over Germany and imposing their ideology on society. These policies included the persecution of Jews and other minority groups, the establishment of a totalitarian state, and the pursuit of aggressive foreign policies that eventually led to World War II. Propaganda. Nazi-era propaganda was a powerful tool used by the regime to manipulate public opinion and control the narrative in Germany. The Nazis believed that propaganda was essential in creating a unified, homogeneous society and used it to promote their ideology and demonize their enemies. Nazi propaganda was produced and disseminated through a variety of media, including newspapers, radio, film, posters, and public speeches. The propaganda portrayed Adolf Hitler as a charismatic leader who embodied the ideals of the Nazi Party and presented the Nazi regime as a solution to Germany's problems. One of the key themes of Nazi propaganda was anti-Semitism, which was used to demonize Jews and blame them for Germany's economic and social problems. Propaganda also targeted other minority groups, such as Romani people, homosexuals, and disabled individuals, portraying them as subhuman and unworthy of inclusion in German society. The Nazis also used propaganda to promote the idea of German racial superiority and the need for expansionism. They portrayed the German people as a master race, destined to rule over others, and justified their aggressive foreign policies and invasions of other countries as necessary for the expansion of German living space. Propaganda was a powerful tool in creating a cult of personality around Hitler, with his image being featured prominently in posters, films, and public speeches. The propaganda portrayed Hitler as a hero and savior, and his supporters were encouraged to venerate him as a leader. Overall, Nazi propaganda was a crucial part of the regime's control over German society, and its effects can still be felt today in the legacy of the Holocaust and the devastation of World War II. War. The Nazi period was dominated by World War II, which was a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945. The war was started by Nazi Germany, which invaded Poland in September 1939, and eventually expanded to involve most of the world's major powers, including the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union. The war was characterized by a series of devastating battles and campaigns, including the Battle of Stalingrad, a major battle on the Eastern Front between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union that lasted from 1942 to 1943. The battle was a turning point in the war and resulted in a decisive victory for the Soviet Union. The Battle of Britain, a series of air raids conducted by the German Luftwaffe against Great Britain in 1940. The battle was ultimately won by the British, who successfully defended their island nation against the German onslaught. The D-Day invasion, a massive amphibious assault by Allied forces against Nazi-occupied Europe on June 6, 1944. The invasion was a key turning point in the war and allowed the Allies to establish a foothold on the continent. The Holocaust, the systematic extermination of Jews and other minority groups by the Nazi regime, resulting in the deaths of millions of people. The war had a devastating impact on Europe, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 60 million people, including civilians and soldiers. It also had a profound impact on the course of world history, leading to the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers and the establishment of the United Nations as a global organization dedicated to preventing future wars. The Nazi period war was marked by the atrocities committed by the Nazis, including the Holocaust, and the global effort to defeat their aggressive and genocidal regime. It remains a poignant reminder of the dangers of fascism and the importance of preserving democracy, human rights, and international cooperation. Genocide. During the Nazi era, the most notorious act of genocide was the Holocaust, which was the systematic extermination of Jews and other minority groups by the Nazi regime. The Holocaust resulted in the deaths of an estimated 6 million Jews, as well as significant numbers of Roma, disabled individuals, LGBTQ+ people, and other minority groups. The Holocaust was carried out through a series of brutal and inhumane policies, including ghettos. The Nazis established ghettos, or segregated living areas, where Jews and other minority groups were forced to live in deplorable conditions with limited access to food, water, and medical care. Concentration camps. The Nazis established concentration camps, which were large-scale detention centers where prisoners were subjected to forced labor, torture, and brutal living conditions. Many prisoners died from starvation, disease, and other forms of mistreatment. Extermination camps. The Nazis established extermination camps, or death camps, which were specifically designed for the mass murder of prisoners. The most infamous extermination camp was Auschwitz, where an estimated 1.1 million people were killed, primarily Jews. The Holocaust was a horrific and unparalleled act of genocide, and it remains a painful reminder of the dangers of hate, bigotry, and authoritarianism. The memory of the Holocaust continues to be a crucial reminder of the importance of promoting tolerance, human rights, and democratic values. Thank you for listening to me.